guys, Brittany and Parker here from Ride or Dine.
Hello, and today we're at California's Great America, and we're actually going to be doing a video a little bit different than what we typically do. Earlier this year, Cedar Fair announced that they are going to be selling this park, and it will likely lead to its demise. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the park and just show you everything.
All the rides, we'll talk about the history, if they opened with the park, where they came from, some predictions on where some of them may go, if they're going to go somewhere when the park closes. Just kind of show you California's Great America.
Yeah, so let's go.
So to give you a little bit of history, backstory on California's Great America, it opened in 1976 under actually Marriott, which is funny. I guess they were trying to get into the theme park game. So it was Marriott's Great America. Changed hands a few times, but ultimately I think people are very familiar with this park being operated by Paramount. And that was in '92 when that started. So some of the rides are really similar to the Paramount era, and then of course Paramount, everything was themed to movies. So we'll be able to see a lot of the rides that were re-themed after Paramount no longer operated the park, but the rides are the same. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, and also really interesting is that this front entrance looks very similar to the second Marriott park,
Yes.
which is now Six Flags Great America in Chicago. Yeah.
Which we've been to. And so as soon as we walked in here, I was like, oh my gosh.
The carousel.
I've been here.
Yeah. And you may also recognize the carousel from a movie, and the park as well, from Beverly Hills Cop 3, which is a personal favorite.
About that one. I was going to say,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but...
Oh my goodness.
Did you not know that?
I did not know that, but that's going to change soon. But we're actually going to head over this way. It looks like the observation tower might be open, so we can get better views of the park.
Yeah, let's go do that.
Yeah.
All right, so while we enjoy the views of all of Great America, I'll give you guys some background on the park here. We already talked about its opening date and how it's changed hands of ownership a few times. But a cool thing about it is, even from the park's opening date, it's been divided into these different themed areas. Some of those areas still exist. Most of them have been re-themed to new areas. So we used to have Orleans Place, that still exists. We used to have Hometown Square, that still exists. But there also used to be Yankee Harbor, Yukon Territory, which is representing like the Gold Rush era, and then the Great Midwest Livestock and County Fair. So there's still a county fair area, but definitely not necessarily quite what it used to be. It was kind of a representation of the early 20th century, and now it's more of just like a fair festival area. So hearing the name of some of those original park areas, you know, Yankee Harbor, Orleans, Great Midwest, you can definitely understand where the name California's Great America came from. It was ultimately a park celebrating all of the areas of America.
And while in this video we're going to focus on the rides that are currently at the park, we do want to talk about the rides of the past, the defunct rides that are no longer with us, and some of them even opened with the park. There was, for example, a train, which you can still see the tunnel by Demon. Another ride that you can see, and I'm not sure how operational it is the Sky Ride, and a number of roller coasters that have been at the park over the years, including Whizzer, Greased Lightning, and Stealth.
So the first roller coaster in the park is to the right of the carousel, and that is Gold Striker, built in 2013 by GCI, Great Coasters International. It actually goes around the observation tower here, which is very cool. And interestingly enough, there is actually a tunnel at the very top. And the reason why, and this could have been foreshadowing for people years ago, next door there are a ton of office buildings.
Oh.
And part of the conditions of building the roller coaster and having the roller coaster here is in order to keep the scream level down for noise, they had to add this tunnel. So throughout the ride there are either tunnels, or over here on this section there's literally a wall.
Oh, wow.
A wooden wall.
Yeah.
Another cool thing about the ride is that portions of it are built on a concrete slab as opposed to just traditional footers, and then other parts are traditional footers. So it's really unique, and it's actually considered to be one of the best wooden roller coasters in the world. The two coasters by GCI that are considered the best are Mystic Timbers and Gold Strike. And every park that buys a GCI roller coaster, they're trying to replicate one of the two. There it goes.
Well, you thought Gold Striker was incredible when you rode it.
I did. Yeah, it was awesome. I got to ride in the front seat last train of the night when we were here the other day.
Yeah.
And it's really a impactful roller coaster. It bounces you around a lot, which is kind of the big thing for Mystic Timbers too, is that you're kind of doing this motion.
I do love Mystic Timbers.
And then it hits these turns and comes back. But it is a great roller coaster. Hopefully it finds a home. We talked about earlier how there's a possibility that some of these roller coasters might find new homes, but on the flip side of that, it's also possible that they just get demolished. This is a wooden roller coaster with those interesting footers and foundations. Maybe it's not economical to move a wooden roller coaster.
Yeah.
Which would be unfortunate, because again, it's considered one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see about this one.
We will, but I'm glad I got to ride it. I got a night ride on it, and it was very fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we're actually going to move on to the next section of the park, which is called Hometown Square.
Fun. Let's go. So Hometown Square, we've got really nice seating areas here, a lot of different food options. We've got Panda Express, Subway, and then Maggie Brown's fried chicken that we ate at, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's themed to like a farmhouse kind of a thing, and
right.
I guess you were reading about some kind of backstory about the chicken.
Yeah, the original VP of the park, Marriott, he named it after his wife.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so Maggie Brown fried chicken. We've got an arcade here, and then this area is also home to Patriot.
Yes. And Patriot actually originally was a stand-up roller coaster.
Yeah.
And it was converted by Cedar Fair to a floorless roller coaster to try to bring it more longevity.
Yeah.
I rode it the other day, and it wasn't the smoothest roller coaster, so I don't know where that fits. And the layout's very unique. It has a kind of T shape to it, so putting it in a different park might be a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might not fit somewhere. It is a little bit older too. It came to this park in the 90s.
Right.
So we'll have to see about what happens with Patriot. I didn't ride it the other night because this was right after Flight Deck. And I did ride Flight Deck, and if you see our other video, you'll know that after Flight Deck, I was done.
She was done, that's right. Well, and interestingly enough, this area also houses a theater back there. There's another one by Gold Striker too. I don't know if they're being used anymore.
Yeah, definitely not right now. There's no shows going on. I don't know if maybe during like special events like Halloween or Christmas if they've got anything in there, but...
Yeah, but it's a neat little area, the gazebo, the trees, and of course, Patriot.
So technically the last part of Hometown Square is Whitewater Falls.
Yes.
Which is the big boat drop water ride.
Yeah, it looks like it has a double down.
Yeah, and we're doing it right now.
Let's go. Pretty successful water ride.
That was great.
I am drenched.
Yeah, me too, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And I was out of my seat for sure on those pops of air. There's no lap bar.
No lap bar on this one, yeah.
Just sitting there in the open row. I loved it.
Yeah, and the back got
hot,
more wet, and that's where we were. So that's funny.
But I'm glad. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're going to move over to the next section of the park, which is County Fair. And we'll show you what the main attractions are there. All right, we are now in County Fair. The County Fair stretches from this bridge that's right over here all the way to the antique cars. But the main attractions, of course, would be Railblazer behind me. That's the main one. This is a new roller coaster by RMC, only built a couple years ago.
Right.
It's a single rail roller coaster, similar to Wonder Woman at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, actually identical.
Right.
However, this one adds more theming to it. The actual trains are themed. It goes through tunnels and there's rock work. So they really went all out for this roller coaster. And the other ride that's also here is Demon. And if I remember correctly, she gave it a 5.5 out of 10 because it was a little bumpy.
Yeah, I didn't hate it, but it made me a little sick. What's new?
Well,
but it had some really cool elements, right?
It did. And so what's interesting about the roller coaster is that it's one of the few opening day attractions It originally opened with 2 corkscrews, but then in 1980 they added the 2 loops. So it went from 2 inversions to 4.
Great.
And of course it has the demonic theming.
Right.
That
So it's got like an evil
yeah.
laugh at the beginning,
Right.
tunnel with like red lights all over, and then you go into like a rock type demon's mouth at
Yes.
some point.
Yes. But it's overall a pretty good ride. I don't think it will be moved somewhere else.
It might be a little too old.
A little bit old, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But that's the area over here, County Fair. And actually, one other thing about the antique cars is that they were part of the original opening day attractions. And it looks like
Nice.
Grizzly was added on top of the ride. So it's
Oh.
weird they built around an antique car ride to
Yeah.
build a roller coaster. Those 2 things are usually flip-flops.
Yeah.
And then also in this area, we have a ride called Berserker. An interesting thing about Berserker is that it's a Bayern curve style ride. And currently, it is the only one of its kind in the United States. There is one that might open at Knoebels.
Oh,
Because we always look to
interesting.
Knoebels to save rides. And
True.
so it would be one of 2. So hopefully this is one of those rides, because it has a lot of history behind it, that sticks around.
All right, next section of the park is Action Zone. This is home to the star attraction of the Grizzly, which is an older wooden coaster. We also have the Drop Tower here, Tiki Twirl, which is a disco coaster themed to Tiki. It's actually pretty well themed. There's
Yeah, it is.
fire and a whole backstory with it. There's also Psycho Mouse, which is of course, the Wild Mouse coaster.
Which is
actually one
beloved
of my favorites
in this family.
I really like it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's like a really comfortable ride. It's a little bit scary when you go around the edges. It's a good ride. And then they've also got go-karts in this section too.
Yeah.
So obviously action-packed area, a lot of rides, Action Zone. There's also a really large game area here. So that's Games Gallery, where you've got the carnival style games, but you also have a full arcade.
And so I'm gonna ride Grizzly real quick because I've never ridden it. And it was closed when we were here a couple days ago. And ironically, the drop tower was open, so
And now
they've
it's
switched.
closed. Yeah, they did switch.
Yeah, I think the reason, by the way, for the Tiki Twirl, why it's so well themed, it used to be Survivor, the ride.
Yeah, so we talked about a little while ago how this used to be a Paramount park and how some of the rides used to be themed when it was under Paramount. And when Cedar Fair took over, they did not keep the rights to a lot of that theming. So they changed Survivor, the ride, into Tiki, which still kind of fits. You know, you don't have to change a lot of it. You just take off like that title name, basically, the copyright part.
No, it's definitely one of those close enough
Yeah.
kind of moments.
For sure.
Welcome back.
Grizzly, not a beloved roller coaster.
No?
I can definitely see why. The trains are very unfortunate. You have a seat belt, and then also this lap bar, which is connected to a seat belt, and it's really tight. The front 2 rows were actually closed for whatever reason. So, not a lot of people want to save this ride. A lot of people are cool with it closing. In fact, a lot of people were talking about how it should close and be converted into an RMC roller coaster. And, you know, maybe that was in the cards at one point, but of course, with the events that are taking place, probably not anymore. But, you know, you never truly know,
That's true.
because there are markings everywhere.
There are.
And so, you know, they're still open for at least a few more years. And I think that means that they're still going to add a couple rides that maybe are easily moved somewhere else. So maybe we're looking at a plot for another ride.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments too. Did you know these markings were here? We're not sure what they're for. They might not even be for a ride at all.
That's really true.
But really interested to see everyone's ideas on it. All right, we're now entering Planet Snoopy. I know this is the kiddie area of all the Cedar Fair parks, but I really like Planet Snoopy.
So, in Camp Snoopy, there are a number of rides. I'd say there's probably at least a dozen. And they range from a small carousel all the way to what looked like an actual ride that I've only ever seen one other place. Do you know at the top of the Stratosphere, that
Yeah.
one ride where it hangs you off the edge and it
Yeah,
dangles you?
yeah.
They have a ride here that looks similar to that. It's closed, so I don't know exactly what it does, but it has that same long arm with the brakes at the end. And it looks like it tilts forward and maybe, you know, shakes people a little bit, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And actually, even something as small as this kiddie coaster here, it goes over water. The whole area looks great. And there's places where you can shop. We got something.
Yeah.
There are places where you can get some food.
Yep.
There was Peppermint Patty's candy shop. You know, this is a really big area, and it has basically anything you ever want for the kids area.
What do you think's gonna happen to these rides?
You know, I'm not sure, because a lot of these rides are older.
Yeah.
You know, including this roller coaster, which is very much so built for this plot of land right here.
Right.
But, you know, a lot of amusement parks already have these kiddie areas, and a lot of the rides are also themed to Snoopy.
Yeah.
And he is everywhere. There's banners of him everywhere with his friends. You know, this is Lucy's roller coaster. But I think that all of this will just get cut. Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah. Also in Planet Snoopy is Wilderness Run, which is another family coaster. There's a place where you can meet and greet the Peanuts gang. And we're actually going to go into the next area. We're going to head over a covered bridge to get to it.
All right, so this is All American Corners. There's a number of flat rides here. You've got the Flying Eagles behind me at several different amusement parks. The Rapids ride, which is going to be the circular boat ride, and you go over, you know, rapids. And then the new ride for this year, actually, for California's Great America, is called Liberty Twirler, and it's a scrambler.
There is a water park here. We're not going to go into that section. A lot of the rides there are going to be very movable. And this was also kind of an afterthought for the park. It didn't open with the water park, so we're not going to cover it. We're just going to keep moving here. Okay, so the last section of the park is Orleans Place. And you can hear, I think it was Big Bad Voodoo Daddy playing in the background, personal favorite. Pizza Orleans. I'm not sure if they're known for pizza, but and here's another theater actually. I was talking about earlier, you know, how that there's a few of them that aren't being used. I think it's just literally sitting there. And of course, the main attraction to this area is Flight Deck, which used to be themed to Top Gun.
Yes. During the Paramount years, Top Gun. Pretty much all of the theming is still there for Top Gun.
Yeah, pretty much.
But of course, now it's called Flight Deck, but you can see it in the queue. Definitely the Top Gun theming. And I know they used to play Danger Zone. I don't know about if it was on repeat, but they used to play it a lot over that roller coaster. Rode it the other night.
Yes.
If you watch that video, you'll see that that was the ride that did me in for the night.
It did. It did. Well, the layout itself, though, is pretty cool. Of course, it's a B&M inverted coaster. Goes down the first drop, like it's going right now, into the first vertical loop. And then it goes up into a helix. And then it comes down towards us and flips right over the theater. From there, it actually goes towards a lake that's behind this ride. And it goes into a corkscrew, and it goes through another helix, a really tight helix, over that lake.
Yes.
And so the ride isn't very long, but it's very forceful, and that was the problem that Brittany had.
It was very intense.
Yes.
Yeah, not very long, but I couldn't even tell you what was happening when we did it. You just explained it all here, and I'm like, oh, did I do that? I don't recall.
It was also nighttime, so it was extra disorienting for you.
Yes.
But other than the ride itself, you know, there are a number of different shops that we're going to explore. Yeah. Because they're pretty cool looking. There's Voodoo Charm, and we'll start there first.
Cool.
Well, the Voodoo store is closed. I think there's one other store, but there's also Rue de Lage. And that is, of course, bumper cars. Very clever. But let's find that other store.
Looks like there are actually two. There's Snoopy Rocks and Bayou Outpost. So we're going to take a look at that. Looks like everything is 60% off. A number of different t-shirts here. Looks like a lot of Christmas stuff, as it turns out, which when you think about it, and it's crazy I'm saying this out loud, isn't too far from now. Here's probably the best themed building over here, Orleans Candy Kitchen. Very cool. And in fact, the closer we get to the end of this Orleans area, the closer we're getting to the front of the park and that carousel. So that's the reason why you'll see more food stuff, because we're getting closer to the front of the park. And usually when people leave, they like to grab a treat. And there's a ton of variety in there. There was a whole wall of gummies. There were candy apples. There was even a select, like, special seasonal stand up front that had different kinds of stuff in there too. Oh, this guy's blurting it out. The last stand is the funnel cakes and churros, and I've even seen the park post online where they have churros inside of ice cream and all this kind of stuff. Looks really good.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, another successful day. I hope you enjoyed our stroll around the park to see everything that this park has to offer.
Yeah. And I mean, we came 2 different days. It was pretty busy both days.
Right.
And I mean, I know it's a holiday weekend, so that could make it a little bit busier, but still, just surprised to see this many people and know that it'll be closing soon.
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of people who have different thoughts about the park closing, and the reason why I know a lot of people are saying it's because of the land being so valuable. Another thing that I think of too is that when the park first opened, it started as this giant, amazing, great thing. You know, it starts off super strong with these amazing, incredible rides. And then, of course, it went through the Paramount years and theming. And to lose that theming, you know, I wonder if all of this is a factor that they just have a hard time living up to the past.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens
Yeah.
at the park, when it closes, and see when Cedar Fair announces some more information about it.
Right,
and we'll also keep our eyes open to see what happens with a lot of the rides here.
Exactly. What do you guys think are going to happen with every individual ride here? Do you have something in mind, some thought?
A plan.
About a plan? Do you have a plan? Is there a plan?
Is there a plan?
Please let there be a plan. But yeah, another successful day. And if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to Ride or Dine. And we'll see you guys next time.